Welcome to Creative Living, where we help you live your most creative life. I'm Jane Klaus. Now on this episode, we're going to take a look back at some of our favorite stories. But before we head down memory lane, let's take a look at what's coming up on the show. We talk with Phil Rosenthal about his hit series, Somebody Feed Phil, a creative way to display your love for Barbie, and some must-have tips before your next road trip. That and much more coming up on Creative Living. One of my all-time favorite interviews was with Phil Rosenthal about his Netflix series, Somebody Feed Phil. Now, I just love his show, but getting to spend some time with him was so much fun. Everybody Loves Raymond is one of the most successful and popular shows ever on television, and now the creator is working his magic to do the same thing with his Netflix show, Somebody Feed Phil. I am thrilled to welcome to our show, Phil Rosenthal. Hi, Phil.
Hi, so nice to see you.
What inspired you to even start season 1?
Oh my goodness, it's something I've always loved. You know, I've said this before, but my mom, as great as she was in every other respect, was not the best cook. And so we didn't get a lot of great food. We couldn't afford it, and we didn't go anywhere. So we didn't get a lot of great food. So when I went to college, it was the first time I had garlic, for instance. Like, I never had that flavor, or any flavor for that matter. And it was like, you know, The Wizard of Oz, when she opens the door and suddenly the world's in color now?
Yeah.
That's what it was like for me.
Your show is not just a food show. I call it, it's like a food show meets a travel show, meets a feel-good show, a history lesson. Like, what would you say the premise of the show is?
I think it's a connecting to people show, because everything I'm using, my little bag of tricks that I've learned over my many years in television about how to make a television show, is now in the service of everything I love in life. So that means family, friends, food, yes, travel, and laughs. And I always say that, you know, food is the great connector and laughs are the cement. And what I'm talking about is the people that I'm eating with, or the people who've made the food, right?
Well, that's the beauty about what you do with this show and just like this magic that you have, because you connect with people in the show. And I don't know what it is. It's your ability to be a genius producer and on-camera host. Is it the chemistry that you have with your crew? Is it the chemistry you have with the people you meet? What is the secret to success that you have?
I think it's knowing what your values are and letting them come through, and not being afraid to let it honestly come through. Meaning, there's mistakes, there's no acting. These are just the values that I'm looking for. I thought, we're never going to do a second take, right? Whatever we get, we get. You know, if sometimes there's a mistake and they want me to say something over again because they didn't hear it, maybe I'll do that once in a while. But even then, it doesn't feel right to me, because I don't want to fake anything. Every reaction you see is real. Now, I'm polite. I don't want to spit food out. That's not good. But most of the time, you're seeing the stuff I love, because we have a very limited amount of minutes in the show. So I want to turn you on to the best stuff. I'm trying to get you to travel. The world would be so much better if we all could experience a little bit of other people's experiences. So I'm using food and my stupid sense of humor as the way in.
And what I love is that you let the funny be funny. You leave it in and you let it go. And that's what the best part about it is.
Thank you. Well, that's, you know, it should feel a little bit like vacation, because I know that's pretty much why you're going to travel to someplace. You have your hard-earned vacation of your 2 weeks a year, or however long it is. You're probably going to take your family. So why not go to, you know, this place? You're looking for a place to go. And then beyond that, we have a website where you can tick off every place that we went in the show and even book it and make a reservation. So plan your trip now for next year, when it's probably going to be okay, when we have a vaccine.
The show is Somebody Feed Phil. I'm wondering who's feeding you today. I feel like it's my responsibility. And being Greek, and I couldn't bring you Greek food because we're miles and miles away, I ordered you some Greek food. Do you have it?
Something arrived at the door about 10 minutes ago. Let me show you what you've done to me. I have not opened this. This is from probably the best Greek restaurant in LA. It's called Papa Christos. And I know this restaurant and I've ordered from here, but I've never ordered this much from here. All right, here we go, Lucanico. People. Oh yeah. How do you not like that?
Phil Rosenthal, you are amazing. Thank you so much for entertaining us and making us smile. And thank you so much for your show. Everybody needs to head over to Netflix and watch Somebody Feed Phil. Phil Rosenthal, everybody.
Thank you.
We had the great pleasure to travel to Newport, Rhode Island to feature their incredible mansions. And I have to say, it was an unforgettable experience seeing all of the opulent homes, especially the ones from the Gilded Age.
The Preservation Society of Newport County maintains 5 critically important historic houses that are identified with the Gilded Age, beginning with Chateau-sur-Mer, which is actually a Victorian, but it was the first great stone mansion along Bellevue Avenue in Newport. And then there is Rosecliff, there are the Elms, Marble House, and the Breakers.
Given the fact that history is not taught in American schools in the way it used to be, historic houses like ours really become the classroom for people to learn about the history of our nation. So I think we play a very important role.
Here in Alva Vanderbilt's dining room, when you had lunch with Alva, when she had lunch with her children, only French could be spoken. Alva had a distinct attitude about the way Europeans looked at Americans, because from her experience, having grown up and been educated in France, she understood the Europeans pretty much thought of us as the Hicks from the sticks. Well, this pretty much dispels that myth, doesn't it?
Alva Vanderbilt is a remarkable figure in history and very interesting because she came from a middle-class family in the South. The family during the Civil War went to France, which was not unusual, to escape the ravages of war. She became a Francophile and came back to the United States, was fortunate enough to marry William Vanderbilt, one of the richest men in the world, and then went on to really make a stamp for the Vanderbilt family by building 2 glorious houses that were designed by Richard Morris Hunt and Alva. I think Americans, and actually Europeans and people around the world, because our visitation comes from an international body, people are very much interested in history and in architecture and in museums in general. And they're coming in droves, and they're coming as young people, and they're coming as older people. I think that we owe a debt of gratitude to Julian Fellows for writing that script and making it so interesting. And 9 o'clock on Sunday night, everybody was watching. The series introduces us to a period in history, in England, of course, not America, slightly later than what we represent, but the same kind of conflict. Downton Abbey is heart-wrenching in that you can see a family doing all that it can do to hold on to a piece of property and a lifestyle that they love, but it's harder and harder to do that. And you see that here in Newport as well.
The Preservation Society of Newport County gives over 1 million tours a year. And in fact, this summer we just gave our 40 millionth tour since we were founded in 1945. People visit mansions like Marble House here from over 100 countries and all 50 states. And it's an experience that is found at this building and 10 more locations around Newport. You can experience 250 years of American history, architectural as well as interior design and decorative arts, by visiting any one or all of these properties.
Don't go anywhere. We've got much more coming up on Creative Living. A unique way to show your Barbie pride. And one thing you should do before you head out on your next road trip. Out of all the Craft Room Crash feature stories I've done over all the years, the one that was the most creative was when we took a childhood favorite and made some very unique jewelry. I see you, Barbie. This is Craft Room Crash, and I am in Surprise, Arizona, outside DIYer Kelly Smith's house. Now, she says it's a blessing and a curse that she can make anything out of everything, including doll parts. So let's go crash her craft room and find out what Kelly is making today. Hey, Kelly.
Hey, Jane, come on in.
All right.
Jane, I wanted to show you my awesome studio.
Oh my gosh, this is a pink
It's amazing.
dream.
It's crazy
This is
pink.
So fabulous, magnificent.
I have this sign that says, right by the door, it's baggage and a hook. And it's symbolic to me about leaving all my other stuff there at the door and going into the craft room. Jewelry that I've been making has been really fun and kind of a newer outlet for me.
So what are we making today?
Well, I'm going to cut head off of a Barbie and we're going to make a beautiful glamorous necklace.
She did say she can make anything. I'm in.
The first thing you have to do is pick a Barbie.
Oh, I love my Barbies. Wow. I mean, look at all these Barbies.
I know. Very first thing with the Barbie I do is I pull off the head just like, oh. You have to use a little bit of strength because sometimes they're hard to get off. And you did it, yay.
Oh, I kind of feel bad. Okay, so I'm just going to cut around her head, right?
Yeah, I'm just going to fill in the hollowness so that it won't squish down. I just kind of put it inside the crevice to figure out the
Don't you mean the crevasse?
crevasse. So then I'm just squeezing the glue out. And I think the easiest way for me is to put the middle in first, making sure that the rhinestone is on the top. I have some containers of broken old jewelry. So this was a piece, it was like a $3 necklace. And I just take it all apart. I love the sound when he goes, I don't know, I love that. Then I start picking out what I might like on her kind of a crown of bigger jewels.
Oh my gosh.
That's beautiful.
So this is the Barbie finish. Kelly, this is so great. Thanks for having me in your craft room.
I'm so glad you came.
Thanks so much to Kelly. Now we all know how to give our Barbies a new life. And that's what Kelly is doing in her craft room. What are you doing in your craft room? I'll see you next time. What should I name her? Or she's just Barbie?
Yeah.
Let's take a peek at what's coming up next on Creative Living. We've got ideas to keep your kids entertained during a road trip and a simple way to make a personalized gift. Passing along useful information is just one of the goals of Creative Living. And this interview with AAA is packed with everything you need to know before heading out on the road. Jump in the car, kids. It's time for a road trip. Yeah, we've all heard that before. And family vacations is just part of summertime. And the preferred way of travel is by car for so many people. So joining me today is Michelle Donati from AAA to talk to us about road trips. Michelle, why are road trips so popular?
It's just one of those age-old traditions. From the time that cars been on the road trip has just really been the most common and economical way for families to travel. And this summer will be no exception to that. According to AAA's 4th of July travel forecast, 41 million Americans traveled by car over Independence Day this year, which is a near record for the holiday.
You mentioned it's economical. So why is traveling by car so easy on your bank account?
Well, you know, when you look at families, especially for families, and you put a family of 5 in a car, you can do so much more economically than buying those 5 airline tickets. And so, you know, just take my family, for example. We're a family of 5. So to fly to Southern California, for example, that's probably about $1,000. We can get there with maybe a tank and a half or so of gas.
Right.
So that's not even a couple of $100 there.
And almost the same amount of time it would take to get into the airport and jump on a plane.
And then we don't have to rent a car when we get there. And, you know, traveling by car also gives you that freedom. So if you see something you want to stop along the way, you want to stop and do that, you can do that too. And that's a really great thing for families because sometimes, especially when you're traveling with little kids, you need to stop, let them run around, play, get that energy out before you put them back in the car and get the rest of the way to your destination.
When we talk about driving our own car, even if it's running perfectly, should we get it checked out before we go on that trip?
Absolutely. This is the #1 thing that you should be doing before any road trip. And you don't want to wait and do it the day before. Do it a couple of weeks before. That way, if anything does pop up that needs to take place, you'll have plenty of time to do it. So we recommend visiting your trusted technician, getting a thorough check. Even if your vehicle isn't due for maintenance, I always take my car to my trusted technician. I say, hey, going on a road trip, we just take a look and make sure everything's okay.
Before we go on that trip, we got to do some research.
Yes.
I know AAA provides all sorts of information for us, but what kind of research should we be doing?
Well, you know, you want to research the destination itself. So you want to find out, are there any festivals or events taking place? I mean, that might influence your decision to travel to that destination, or it might deter you from that destination.
And you talked a lot about kids in the car. Those kids get bored.
They do.
And they get bored real fast.
They do.
So what kind of ideas do you have to keep them busy?
So I can attest that I am a little bit of a professional at this because I just made the road trip with my 3 kids by myself to Southern California, and again, 3 kids under 5. The key is to really keep them entertained, breaking that trip up in giving them things that they haven't seen before. So if you give them the same thing that they play with every day, even if it's a tablet, which can really come in handy during a trip, they're going to be bored with it within a half hour or so. You can make a quick trip to the dollar store, very inexpensive store, department store, and find things that are road trip friendly. So a couple of things I've picked up. This is a checker game. It is actually magnetic, so you're not going to lose the
slide
pieces
everywhere.
along
It's great.
the way.
Yeah.
Just fun coloring things or books or small toys, handheld toys that might be able to pass back and forth.
And I noticed that you have little buckets here for each one of the kids.
Yes. So you want to make sure that whether you have a bucket or a bag, that you don't give this to them all at once. You want to hand out one thing at a time. Otherwise, you are unveiling your entire bag of tricks, and that is not going to help you one bit.
And what do you recommend to keep the car clean? Because that's a lot of people in a car for a long period of time.
People in a car. Well, one thing with kids is I always recommend having a spare change of clothes for every child in the car kept in the cabin of the car. And so the last thing you want to do is if there's a spill or any car sickness, have to pull over and then unpack your trunk to get the clothes out to change your child. But in addition to that, you can look at household items. So this is a cereal dispenser. This is what we use for a trash can in the car. It's going to keep the trash contained. We can empty it when we get to a gas station, but it's also going to contain any smelly things along the way.
First aid kit, mechanics kit, should we carry that stuff as well?
A roadside kit, especially that. So you want to have a roadside provider like AAA, recognizing even if you can change a tire on your own, you don't want to do so on the side of a highway. You want a trained professional like AAA to take care of that for you. But an emergency roadside kit can help you make a minor repair or at least make the wait for help more bearable. And we always, always, always want you to travel with plenty of snacks and drinking water in your vehicle. Again, if you do break down, you want to make sure your family can stay safe, hydrated until help does arrive.
Great information, Michelle. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're getting us road trip ready. For more information from AAA, just head to their website. Stick around because we've got more coming up on Creative Living. A special gift using flowers with a personal touch. It's It's no secret, one of my happy places is making things and creating, and especially showing you how easy it can be. And in this DIY, we take a few simple items and turn them into the perfect personalized gift. Handmade soap is so easy to do, and it's a very popular DIY project. Not to mention, you could sell your handmade soaps, and they make a great hostess gift. So today, let's make a pressed flower soap. It's a cinch, so let's get started. You'll need clear and white glycerin melt and pour soap base, dried flowers, rubbing alcohol, essential oils, a silicone mold, 2 heat-proof measuring cups, and stir sticks. First, drop the flowers into the bottom of the mold. Melt the clear glycerin soap base in the microwave for 30 seconds, and then at 10-second intervals until completely melted. Mix in a few drops of essential oils and stir. Pour into the mold over the flour about halfway up. Wait for it to harden about 8 minutes, then spray rubbing alcohol over the top of the clear glycerin. Now, melt the white glycerin soap base in the microwave for 30 seconds and at 10-second intervals until it's all melted. Now, it's optional to add a few more drops of essential oils into the melted white glycerin if you want more fragrance in your soap. Pour over the top of the clear base already in the mold. Wait an hour for it to harden and pop out. Another option is to add food coloring to your clear glycerin to make colored soaps. And there you have it, soap so pretty, it's like a work of art. We want to thank you for joining us over the past 6 years and for joining us today for what will be our last show. We hope all of our stories have inspired you to live your most creative life. I'm your host, Jane Klaus, and until we see each other again, go out and get creative.